This school year, 2010-2011, I implemented a program called Student Directed Art Curriculum. This is one of my favorite paintings that came out of the year, and so I thought I would just start off with this. Um, we began the year studying the first lesson, which was line and balance. We studied the contour line, and we used objects such as bones and boxes and things like that. The students could either have them be natural looking or use a variety of expressions. So we did end up with a lot of different ways to see the still life. Uh, they could use pencil and colored pencil and crayon and just about anything. This person used a Tonka truck and ended up doing a very nice colored pencil drawing. Uh, Reversed it a couple of times and balanced it out so that you can kind of see it here. I have it also in a picture of a group on the bulletin board. This person used the antlers that I had and abstracted those antlers. And you see this in this drawing here, this picture of the composition that I put up all of the pictures in. The down in the bottom right and on the top right, you see a variety of pictures there. Then we had some students like this who balanced things out very symmetrically and used pencil for that. The next thing we studied was shapes and rhythm and movement, and we studied one-point perspective as this student used that concept. This person used the markers and spiral movement and rhythm and movement to achieve his end there. This one is more of a random rhythmic orientation and used some colored pencils and variety of shapes. This person used another variety of shapes and used colored pencil as well, shading in some of the shapes. This one used circles and overlapping and did a pencil and then came back over top in charcoal. Then we studied value and emphasis. And this was very nice value drawings by one of the students, 18 by 24. Here's one where the student lined up his drawing and wanted to shade it in with pencil. We tried to get some very dynamic lights and darks, in this case a floral arrangement, and this next one the student used butterflies to achieve the same thing. Very, very strong darks and very strong lights with some value in between. Here's a nice arrangement of shapes as well. Second semester then we came back in and we studied color and unity, and the first thing we did was a variety of color wheels. The students were to create a color wheel but not a circle per se, so they could put their shapes into a circular pattern, and they needed to reflect the combination of colors that make up the color wheel. After we studied the color wheel, and we have one more shape here, one more color wheel to look at, I introduced some of the techniques that watercolor is capable of producing, and get into these mingling of colors and so forth. This is an example that I gave them of that. And we looked at color intensity, wet and wet, variety of color schemes and so forth. And these are some of the examples there. After I went into that and the students started using color schemes, they could do any of the designs. This is one of the students' designs here. And this was done in watercolor and I believe in ink as well. Here's one where the student did a lot of wet and wet and a lot of variety there. The next one was a color combination using the color scheme with the primary colors. And we looked at Kandinsky and some of the things that he did with abstract painting while we were studying color. This is another Kandinsky-like painting. We used some India ink, some watercolor. This next one is coming up as a color scheme where I used a variety of purples and muted tones. Then we studied the texture and variety, and I introduced them to what I call the delivery systems, where we used mono printing, and we stamped, and we sprayed, and we did a variety of things like scratching in and styrofoam printing and scratching and scribbling and using syringes and things to create our work. Painting on glass and then smearing it onto the paper and so forth. So here's some examples of that unit in texture and variety, using tempera paint, watercolor, colored inks, and colored stains, just a whole variety of materials that students had a good time playing with. Wasn't concerned so much about the composition, except to fill the space and to go out to all the edges and come up with a balanced composition, of course, along with what they were doing with their variety. And the important thing was to get a textural look. There's the one that I started with that I thought you'd enjoy seeing again. Then we did a unit where we came up with, under space and proportion, we came up with a faux stained glass thing that we did with crayon and India ink. And we had some great examples of that. So this is when we studied space and proportion. Some of the figures that they used here, baseball figures, football figures, and so forth, came out. This hummingbird looked really nice, and so forth. Once we finished with the space and proportion and these faux stained glass pictures, I did a special unit with them. I brought in some clay, and the students then went ahead and made some pendants, which we took home. I took home and fired and brought back in, and then they painted them with their watercolors and then covered them with a gloss medium so that they were sealed up. These are all about 2 inches in diameter. They had a fun time doing this. This was, again, kind of a throwback to the texture unit, so I tried to get them to include some texture, but a lot of them like to just go ahead and put some designs in. Under the space and proportion, then we also did a positive and negative space, and this time we used India ink to do our black and white positive, negative designs. We ended up the year doing these. This was our last project of the year, and I feel like the way in which we approached the idea of the students directing themselves and learning was very positive. They had some very, very positive comments to make. I'm going to continue working to some degree with that next year. I'm looking forward to altering it just slightly, perhaps doing a logbook entry at the beginning of the period instead of at the end. But by and large, I felt that the year went very successfully, and I hope you enjoyed this small little summary of our year in art.